Welcome to a special edition of Ken FM in Gespräch. Our guest today is Mr. Richard Gage. Welcome, Mr. Gage.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yes, and we might as well say Richard and Tommy because we already know each other, and I think we agree upon that.
Indeed, and thank you for introducing me the other night.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm very happy to have you here in Berlin, and I'm very happy to get to know you. I've been following your work for many years now in the architects and engineers of 9/11 Truth, where you are the founder and the chairman nowadays. And architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, then we already, so to speak, we know what it's what it's about. The 9/11 questions regarding the so-called terror attacks on 9/11. Could you briefly tell us about your life before 9/11? I mean, on September 11th, what was your professional life? What was it like? Did you have any? What were your plans for the future, for your career as an architect?
I had been working for 20 years at the time as an architect on several different types of construction, library, animal rescue centers, high schools, city hall, and a large commercial project with 1,200 tons of fireproof steel framing in Summerlin, Nevada. So I was looking forward, I think, to the acceleration of that career, very large projects I was getting into, when I found out about 9/11, which just turned my life around. I realized as I was listening to the radio that in May of 2002, that nothing was going to be the same after this, because I had this horrible feeling in my gut as I heard David Ray Griffin talking about all of this evidence on the radio. I had to pull my car over, just in shock about what I was hearing, about explosions that were documented in oral histories by the first responders, that David Ray Griffin was being interviewed in this radio station in Berkeley. And Graham McQueen, another researcher, had put together that 118 of these 500 orally recorded first responders had heard sounds of explosions and seen flashes of light at the onset of this 12-second destruction for each of the Twin Towers, shattering the structure from top to bottom. I didn't hear about this. I thought this was a gravitational collapse by weakening by fire and jet plane impacts. And then I heard there was a third skyscraper that came down that afternoon. And what is going on here? It's like the Twilight Zone. My whole world just started rocking, tilting, conflicting with the information that I thought was sure, as our government and agencies and the media had told us about these events. So it changed things significantly. I realized I can't just go on and ignore what I heard. I have to tell other people about this. And I found out that most of them didn't want to know about it or hear about it, because they, like me initially, thought that this would just be in the realm of conspiracy theory. But I go, wait, we're talking about facts. So I put these facts together and I presented them to the firm that I was working with at the time. All 15 architects and engineers showed up at the lunch where I presented them pizza. I fed them pizza, and I fed them the information that I had gathered from Stephen Jones's, a researcher on the subject of 9/11, and his PowerPoint I had put together. I stole it and I reformatted it.
How did they react?
All of them, after the presentation, agreed with me that these are controlled demolitions. And 14 out of 15 signed my petition right there on the spot.
Yeah, okay.
So instead of one architect and engineer for 9/11 Truth, I now had 14. My boss was Middle Eastern, so he didn't feel comfortable signing the petition. So yes, that launched a whole different lifestyle, because then from that point on, I was teaching people, traveling around the country, and eventually going to foreign countries to present this information.
Yeah.
Now we've been to 35 foreign countries, 82 American cities, 2,300 architects and engineers signed on to the petition, and we're making great headway.
And now you're making a tour in Europe. I think you're ending up in Hungary, in Ungarn.
Budapest.
Budapest, yeah, genau. And I'd like to get back to the oral histories you talked about, because one could read about these testimonies in the 9/11 Commission report. I would like to read these oral histories to understand what went wrong that day.
Yeah, but you won't find them there.
How come?
You won't even find the destruction of World Trade Center Building 7, the third worst structural failure, in the 9/11 Commission report, so which was supposed to explain the whole series of events to people.
So they just disregarded the Building 7, or how should I understand that?
Yeah, I mean, here's the third worst structural failure in modern history. A 47-story skyscraper that collapses in just under 7 seconds, symmetrically, at free fall, with evidence of molten iron in the basements, hot temperature corrosion attacks by sulfur, which is evidence of something we need to be looking at here. And yet didn't even mention it. And that's real indicative of something. But
have you ever addressed any of the 9/11 Commission members about the issues? Have you asked them, or do you know anything about their point of view on the matter?
Well, no, I haven't personally had the opportunity to address the commissioners, but they've let their feelings be known on this subject. In fact, one of them, Max Cleland, resigns from the commission, citing that it's a national scandal. Others say we were astonished at the lies we were hearing. They called them untruths, from the Bush administration, and they said they were set up to fail. In fact, the 9/11 Commission attorney, John Farmer, himself, in his book, says that there was a decision not to tell the American people the truth, that almost everything that they had written was inexplicably untrue.
Yeah.
This is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And part of which was the lack of exposure for the explosions that were heard from these 118 first responders at the initiation of collapse of the World Trade Center, and the flashes of light they were seeing at that initiation also.
Yeah, which indicates explosives.
Clearly.
Yeah, yeah. In your daily work, so to speak, how did you manage this transfer from being a, should we say, normal architect with normal ambitions, and then all of a sudden you have to go into this way where there's almost a point of no return, and you also have to make a living. How did you manage to in the first years at all to make ends meet?
Well, for at least a couple of years, I think it was 4 years, I was working full-time as an architect, and at night I was putting together this PowerPoint, and during the weekend I was doing traveling, and then during the week I would take off from work and on my vacation time and travel and teach people about these towers, because the evidence was mostly all there. All I had to do was assemble it into a presentable, understandable picture and bring it to people. And then when they saw that, they almost all agreed. In fact, we take a show of hands at the beginning of the presentation. How many agree with the official story? How many are unsure? How many already agree with the, are aware of and in agreement with the evidence for controlled demolition in these buildings? And we take out the same poll afterwards, and almost everybody in the audience ends up agreeing with us. The evidence is very, very clear.
In your opinion, could you point out sort of the most hard evidence, in your opinion, of the controlled demolition? Is that the Building 7 or the Twin Towers?
Well, it's certainly both. And we start with Building 7 because theoretically no one died in that building. I mean, according to the official story. And most people don't even know anything about it. So they're learning something new. So the level of open-mindedness is much better. So we begin with Building 7, and indeed it looks exactly like a controlled demolition. And so that's what they end up agreeing with, because it's in their frame of reference. Unlike the Twin Towers, which we have emotional trauma associated with those, because we were fed those destructive images and loss of life, catastrophic attack on America. So we're in a state of shock and awe, really, reducing us to kind of an infantile mindset during that day particularly. And then we're told that this is a gravitational collapse due to structural weakening by fire. And yet it's anything but that. It's clearly, in the first 4 seconds, an implosion of the top story. And then after 4 seconds, a very explosive event where 4-ton structural steel sections are hurled laterally, landing up to 200 meters in every direction, 90 kilometers per hour. And the evidence goes on and on. So, but if we start with Building 7, which we have a much better success rate of getting people in the door, and they're almost universally agreeing, yeah, I've seen controlled demolitions on TV. This has to be that. What's next? And they're trembling inside about what they know is coming next, which is the Twin Towers. But in Building 7, it was very well documented by FEMA.
The Federal Emergency Management
Association.
Yeah,
and agency.
Agency, yeah.
And they have they had a 2002 report, and the whole Appendix C is dedicated to this scientific forensic examination of the steel, which shows that it had a molten iron attack and hot sulfur corrosion attack, pieces that look like Swiss cheese. And the author, Jonathan Barnett, cites that the ends of the beams were partially evaporated.
Did the FEMA explain this phenomenon?
No, they have no idea. In fact, the New York Times calls it the biggest mystery in World Trade Center.
But then, of course, it was all solved with the NIST report, with the first NIST report, wasn't it?
Not exactly. The NIST report eliminated this forensic examination of the steel, and there's no mention of the beams that were partially evaporated, even though these were very, very well documented. Of course, jet fuel and office fires can't get to be even a third of the temperature it takes to melt steel, or much less evaporate steel, which we're talking 2,000 degrees Celsius, probably 1,500 degrees Celsius to melt it. So where did those temperatures come from? Well, molten iron, which they did document, is the byproduct of thermite. Thermite is an incendiary used by the military to cut through steel like a hot knife through butter. So here we have the evidence from official sources of the use of thermite, and yet and thermate, because sulfur is added to thermite to become thermate, and sulfur is found and documented as well, with no reasonable speculation even on the part of officials as to where the sulfur came from.
Okay, I'll have to get this right, because you're telling me that the FEMA documented this molten iron or molten steel, and also indicating very clearly that there were explosives, and then
incendiaries.
And then NIST just pretended that it wasn't there. Is that the
Well,
fact?
yes, they pretended it wasn't there by eliminating that forensic examination from their final report, as well as the hundreds of witnesses of explosions.
That's not a scientific procedure.
What?
To eliminate known data.
Yes, the scientific method says look at all the data. In fact, look at the hypotheses with objective intent, and don't eliminate any of them until the data eliminates them.
Yeah.
We don't use our preconceived conceptions or our agenda to eliminate potential hypotheses such as controlled demolition, particularly since no high-rise has ever come down due to fire, which is the cause of all 3 World Trade Center skyscrapers. And every high-rise that has come down has been due to controlled demolition, and they all look like controlled demolitions of some sort.
Yeah. But now we have, in history, we now have 3 cases of high-rises allegedly being brought down by fire. Why don't we have any general warnings in these kinds of buildings to the general people, to the general population, that please be careful with the matches. This building can collapse without notice.
It is a problem. In fact, NIST did make some recommendations for structural changes in high-rises, and to date, none of them have been incorporated into the International Building Code. They know that their buildings are safe, and they may or may not know that there's another reason for them having come down on 9/11. Perhaps they know, and because of that, they're not going through the process, as NIST recommended, of incorporating these changes, because it's a significant expense in the cost of these buildings.
Yeah, sure. I also I find it a little bit strange that we haven't seen a worldwide 9/11 upgrade industry serving these high-rises so that they could get to a more secure level. But apparently there has been no such incident.
No, there have been some increases in the egress codes. There have been some increases in the level of fire protection, but nothing structurally, nothing that would keep a high-rise building from falling at free-fall acceleration due to a few small office fires, such as the 47-story Building 7.
Yeah. Could you please try to explain the official story about the Building 7 and this part about the it's wide as a football field and 47 stories high, falling with free fall acceleration. Specifically the part about the columns.
Yeah.
How do they explain this collapse?
Well, the hypothesis that they zoomed in on was the initiation of collapse by thermal expansion due to normal office fires. And there were fires in Building 7. They were few and small and scattered. And again, fires have never brought down a skyscraper. So we have a very creative hypothesis of the destruction by normal office fires, and that is that these, what they call raging fires, caused the thermal expansion of these beams, steel beams, on the 13th floor. Now, the fires weren't raging. In fact, they were few, small, and scattered. They were out over an hour before the building came down at 5:20 in the afternoon, and that's proven by the photos and videos that are available of. So they couldn't possibly, in the first place, have been causing the expansion of these beams at the time of collapse. So, nevertheless, well, they couldn't also, even if they were there, they couldn't have caused the expansion of these beams because these beams are fireproofed. There's not enough fuel in an office building to cause the expansion of beams, particularly given the insulation of the modern fireproofing was built in the mid-'80s. So, but what they did to try to prove that these beams expanded is in their computer model, they heated it up to within 2 seconds. 2 seconds, the beams are heated up, and so they force them to expand instead of sag, which is what they would have done, and what the fire tests proved that they would have done rather than expand laterally. But in the process, they don't heat the concrete slab up above these beams, so they force the shear studs, or the pins that connect those two elements of the composite system, to break. The shear studs are broken in their computer model that way.
But surely a fire would have affected both the steel frames and the ceiling,
and over a long period of time.
Yeah, sure.
Like 20 minutes is all the fuel there is in any given area to burn. So they force this beam to expand, and then these beams land on a girder. And this heavy girder is said to have been pushed off of its seat on this column 79. But that couldn't have happened because the shop drawings show that there were indeed shear studs or pins tying this girder vertically into the concrete slab above it. So it could not have slid sideways at all.
No.
But even if that could have happened, it would have had to have been pushed 12 inches, not 6 inches, to fall off of its 12-inch wide seat on that column 79. And the reason is because the ends of that girder had steel stiffeners, which NIST had omitted from their model, saying that the flange at the end of the girder then folded, so it only had to be pushed off half of its seat. So that couldn't have happened because that's fraudulent, the omission of key structural elements that would violate or pull the rug out from underneath their entire theory. But even if that girder could have pushed 12 inches off of its seat, the floor 13 wouldn't have fallen on 12 and caused a progressive collapse.
And I mean, we are talking about a collapse that affected the whole building, and not only this one corner.
Well, there are three other girders framed into that building which would hold that floor up.
Yeah, and they don't even claim that they have been marked by fire, these other girders.
No, the fire was in this other quarter with these beams in this first girder. So, according to the official story. Even if those girders weren't there, the floor might have touched, 13 floor might have touched 12, but it couldn't have caused a progressive collapse. But even if that could have occurred, we would have had massive deformation as this progressive collapse ensued in the exterior perimeter structural steel system, and breaking of granite panels and windows all over the place, because this instability, they say, traveled vertically up through the system, and their computer model shows 400 structural steel connections failing every second, which is an astronomical rate of failure that's not even natural.
So that means that the collapse that we saw on 9/11, the Building 7, if this collapse is described in a computer model, it contained 400, what did you say, 400?
Structural steel connections are failing every second.
Every second.
Of the 7-second collapse.
Do they?
Well, excuse me, the 30-second collapse overall, as NIST describes this interior collapse, gutting the building, and then the exterior somehow just then falls.
But that amount of destruction would require, I should think, a lot of energy. Do they address the issue? How did this occur? How could this be connected to office fires?
Well, yes, this series of instabilities, they say, started by the thermal expansion, pushing this girder off of its seat, and then a progressive floor collapse, leaving this column 79 unbraced for 9 floors. Then it finally buckles, causing this interior collapse, which goes vertically and then travels laterally through the rest of the building, somehow leaving the perimeter intact and unmolested and undeformed, which is completely impossible. It would have pulled in the walls, the building would have been tipping over.
Clearly. Also, they are talking about, we could call it a chain reaction, but this is not a chain reaction, this is a symmetric reaction at one time, the whole building. According
to the videos, the east penthouse drops a few seconds before, but there's no internal cascading failure. You would see light through the windows, you'd see deformation up there. So there was some sort of a collapse of the east penthouse, presumably explosives going off at the wrong time. And then in the final 7 seconds, the entire building, like you said, an acre in size, 40,000 tons of structural steel, 5 times stronger than it needed to be, drops suddenly, straight down, symmetrically, and at free fall acceleration. In other words, it's getting faster and faster and faster, just like this object, 3, 2, 1. No resistance. Straight down through the path of what was the greatest resistance. All those structural columns. So this pen can drop because there's no resistance, but a building has lots of resistance, as David Chandler, the physicist, says, or physics teacher, says that that's why we feel comfortable going into a building, because it has resistance.
Right, right. I learned in school many years ago, if I remember correctly, that energy would always choose the path with the less resistance. But energy hasn't done so in this case.
Well, there's some other massive amount of energy at work to remove all 80 columns in this building at once, which is what's required for it not to tip over. Mm-hmm. Any deviation in that pattern, and this building is going to begin to tip over.
Yeah.
But it goes straight down, indicating a very precise removal of all 80 columns within a fraction of a second. So the question I put to the Urania attendees last night is, can fire accomplish that level of precision? So it comes down to that question, and if your rational mind says, no, fire is an organic, natural process, it's not going to accomplish that level of precision, then you have a problem. And the problem is that means controlled demolition, which is how they remove columns with precision, with explosives, or thermite incendiaries, in this case, for which we have the evidence of the byproduct of thermite molten iron. So once we come to that answer, we're sent on the big problem. We're set onto the big problem.
That's the point of no return.
Yeah, the point of no return, because you're acknowledging that A, this is a controlled demolition. B, we were told this was normal office fires. C, we've been lied to. D, if we were lied to about Building 7, then we must squarely, fearlessly look at the evidence at the World Trade Center. So then we started the audience on that path. And I think 100% of them were shocked to find out that indeed we have very solid evidence there as well. And of course that sets us on the next point of no return. What does all of this mean? And it's scary, because that means Al-Qaeda probably is not the culprit here. They didn't have access to 3 of the most highly secure buildings outside the Pentagon. Probably. We can all speculate that at least. And so who did? You know, who had access to some very sophisticated thermitic materials? Who had access to the buildings? We're talking about, you know, the security company that needs to be investigated. We're talking about Ace Elevator, who came out of nowhere to secure the elevator modernization contract, the biggest one in the world.
That was built by Otis.
Even though Otis built the elevators and was maintaining them, here's Ace Elevator coming in and going out of business immediately after 9/11, taking this 9-month elevator modernization, which would have given them access to the core columns and beams in the building. So we certainly want an investigation of them and a security company.
That was specifically the Twin Towers, this elevator modernization, if you look at the 2 or the 3 collapses on 9/11, at least I see a remarkable difference. Normally, I've read somewhere that when you make a controlled demolition, the pile after the collapse will be between 10 and 14% of the original height, something like that. And that goes quite well with the dimensions of the Building 7. But when we look at the Twin Towers, they were 400 meters high, Where are those two 40 meters high piles of rubble that should be lying there? And all the pancakes. I mean, we're told that these 110 floors were collapsing in a pancake style, which means there should be a lot of pancakes visible, but apparently it's all gone. Where's the concrete gone?
Yeah, it is pretty much all gone. There's only a two-story pile of core columns, perimeter columns, other miscellaneous metals underneath the two, where the two twin towers were. And so we're looking for 110 floors of 4-inch thick concrete, and a dozen of which were 8-inch thick.
Yeah, the reinforced floors.
4-inch thick is 8-10 centimeters,
yeah.
And twice that for the mechanical floors. So what we see in the videos, all of them, is not a pile driver, a 15-story pile driver in the case of the North Tower above the point of jet plane impacts. Mm-hmm. It's not driving the rest of the building down, as we're told. Basically, that's the theory, this massive weight. It is destroyed in the first 4 seconds, and very similar to Building 7, really a classic implosion. It doesn't go down like this, it goes like this. Yeah. Its structure is basically liquefied. One column from another beam, all completely severed. After that, just like the firemen described, like a belt, all these explosions, in which you see in the videos, 4-ton structural steel sections hurled laterally at 90 kilometers per hour, landing 200 meters in every direction up to that far, and trailed by thick clouds of smoke, which is the most interesting thing about those. And
what does that indicate, in your opinion?
Well, we have molten iron at the base of all towers. We have the USGS finding the signature, a signature element in the World Trade Center dust in their toxicological studies, along with R.J. Lee, an environmental firm, documenting these billions of previously molten iron microspheres, the diameter of a human hair. And this is elemental iron they're finding. So where does molten iron come from? Incendiaries. So if the ends of these beams are attacked with a thermite, we would expect iron oxide to be trailing off these laterally flying structural steel elements. Yeah. And that's what we see, but also we see where this concrete goes. In mid-air, you can see the massive pulverization of concrete. It's not down at the bottom of the pile, so it had to go somewhere else. What we see is that 90,000 tons of concrete is being pulverized in mid-air to a fine powder, which is laid throughout Lower Manhattan, river to river, in 20 centimeter thick blanket or so.
Yeah, yeah. We're told that as you say, that's a normal collapse when concrete is pulverized, but we don't need to believe that. But I would like you to judge what could cause this massive destruction. What could have caused it, do you think, in your opinion? Yeah. Jet fuel, certainly not.
No, jet fuel is basically kerosene. It doesn't burn hot. In fact, the manufacturer says it only burns at about 600 degrees Fahrenheit, 300 Celsius. So where did all this heat exceeding 1500 Celsius come from? Thermite produces molten iron at 4,000 or 4,500 degrees Fahrenheit, 2,000 degrees Celsius. So it's a very likely suspect. What could pulverize concrete? We're probably talking also high energy explosives, perhaps C4 or RDX, or perhaps
conventional explosives.
It could be that, or it could be a very high-tech form of nanothermite, a very high-tech form of thermite called nanothermite, which appears to have been placed in layers and has more explosive properties because the aluminum platelets and iron oxide crystals inside of these small red-gray chips, documented by a small team of scientists led by Niels Harrit in Copenhagen, are found in all 4 independently collected samples and documented in a peer-reviewed paper. Well, this is basically thermite, and but it's a very, because of the small size at the nanoscale of these particles, they can ignite very rapidly and become even more explosive, particularly since they're set in an organic bed of oxygen, silica, and carbon.
And do we know for a fact that these chips are actually built from an atomic level in a lab? Do we know that for a fact?
That's what the paper has determined from Niels Harrit, Stephen Jones, Jeff Farr, and these other scientists. These are world-class scientists. And this paper has not been challenged in a peer-reviewed sense, which is how you challenge somebody's peer-reviewed paper.
2009 it came out and hasn't been challenged since. I'd like to get back to the overall event, because
the greatest form of control is where you think you're free when you're being fundamentally manipulated and dictated to. One form of dictatorship is being in a prison cell and you can see the bars and touch it. The other one is sitting in a prison cell but you can't see the bar, you think you're free.
What the human race is suffering from is mass hypnosis. We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers.
We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit. What happened to the home of the brave? These motherfuckers, they controlling us now, and no one's talking about how they made us modern day slaves. And everybody's just walking around, heading the clouds and wanna wake up to a dead in the grave. But then it's too late, we need to be ready to raise up. Welcome to the end of days.
Everybody is slaves, only some are aware that the government releasing poison in the air. That's the reason I collect so many guns in my lair. I ain't never caught slipping, never underprepared. Yeah, they shade sign on me, they just spray it proudly. George Bush, the grandson of Aleister Crowley. They want you to believe the lie that the enemy's Saudi. The enemy ain't Saudi, the enemy around me. It's fluoride in the water, but nobody know that. It's also a prominent ingredient in Prozac. For real? How could any government bestow that upon people who believe in political throwback? That's not all that I'm here to present you. I know about the Black Pope and Solomon's Temple. Yeah. About the Vatican assassins and how they will get you, and how they clone Barack Hussein Obama in a test tube.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit. What happened to the home of the brave? These motherfuckers, they controlling us now, and no one's talking about how they made us modern day slaves. And everybody's just walking around, heading the clouds and wanna wake up to a dead in the grave. But then it's too late, we need to be ready to raise up. Welcome to the end.
Whoever built the pyramids had knowledge of electrical power, and you know that that's the information that they suppress and devour. Who you think the motherfuckers that crashed in the tower? Who you think that made it turn into ash in an hour? The same ones that invaded your own, the ones that never told you about the skeletons on the moon. Yeah, the ones that poison all the food you consume, the ones that never told you about the Mount Vesuvius tombs. The bird flu is a lie, the swan flu is a lie. Why would that even come as a surprise? Yeah, the polio vaccine made you die. It caused cancer and it cost a lot of people their lives. Do y'all know about Bohemian Grove? How the world leaders sacrificing children in robes? Lucifer is God in the public school system. I suggest you open up your ears and you listen.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit. What happened to the home of the brave? These motherfuckers, they controlling us now, and no one's talking about how they made us modern day slaves. And everybody's just walking around, heading the clouds and wanna wake up to a dead in the grave. But then it's too late, we need to be ready to raise up. Welcome to the end of days.
The greatest hypnotist on planet Earth is a oblong box in the corner of the room. It is constantly telling us what to believe is real.
If you can persuade people that what they see with their eyes is what there is to see, you got them. Because they'll laugh in the face of an explanation that portrays the bigger picture of what's happening. And they have.
We're live.
YOLO. It's good, infidels. You know what day it is. One of the most important that shaped us all as we move forward. We ask the question, who the fuck knocked our buildings down? Who the man behind the World Trade Massacre? Step up now. Where the 4 planes at? Huh, you insane bitch? Fly that shit over my hood and get blown to bits. No disrespect. That's what I said. I got to rest my head. I understand you got to rest yours too, America. Together we stand, divided we fall. Mr. Trump, sit down. The horsemen are in charge of the wall. Yeah, I hear myself in the background spitting it. I'll turn that down, but it's going to be a live show tonight, man. I'm hopeful that we get everybody in that we want to, and actually we're going to go live right now, but instead of doing intros, live at Ground Zero, we're going to try and bring them in here. Let me bring up my ad to call. Let's see. What is his thing? Is it BRV on here? Yeah, Billy Ray. Let's see, man. If we can get... commercial too. Oh yeah, commercial pop.
There's Billy Ray.
Hey brother, how are you? You're on live.
Hey, can you guys hear me? Can you see my video or no?
Yeah,
I can't
that video.
But we can hear you.
There he is.
See me now?
Got him.
Yeah, man, we got you, dude. We got you.
So what's up, guys, man? Listen, so it's died down a bunch because actually, you know what? I'm gonna turn it around. You guys don't want to see me. Because it's the day is winding down, so people have left, but there's still some people around. This is the Freedom Tower right there. Right over there is World Trade Center 7. It's rebuilt. The footprints are down that way. These scales you see coming up that way, that's the Oculus building. That's World Trade Center 4 or 5. I think it's 5, right next to it. That big black building over there is the Oculus. I mean, not the Oculus. That's the Millennium Hotel that's supposed to represent the, what is it? Not the obelisk, the monolith in a Space Odyssey 2001.
Right?
2001, yeah.
Right? Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we hear you great, man. You're doing great.
So here's people that had set up, right? They come out here year after year after year. I can't even find the people, I mean, the person that's responsible for it right now. But they have all of these flyers out here, these signs trying to get people to listen. Hold on. Hey, how you doing, brother?
All right, bro.
I'm on live with the Conspiracy Horsemen. Say what's up.
Hey, we're out here. Got a bunch of us out here speaking, and some people hate it. Some people are with us. So, it's a mixed bag.
You guys got any questions for him?
Yeah, man.
What's the
Go ahead.
website? I'mTheFaceOfTruth.com. Is that the site?
TheFaceOfTruth.com. Tell them about it.
Oh, yeah. So, our primary mission of this particular group is to provide a Facebook banner picture for your Facebook picture. But we also support and learn from one another. So we're there because it's a very lonely and difficult road to walk when you're a 9/11 truther and
speak up a little bit.
And your spouse supports you and your friends and your family, and you're there by yourself. So that we're there for each other. But this is like a marketing thing where you get next to your face on your Facebook picture, you get the truth banner.
How long you been out here, bro? How long you been doing this?
Oh, this is my 8th year.
8 years. 8 years. So we got a lot of repeat customers, man, that just, hey, say thanks. Say goodbye.
Thank you guys.
All right.
Thank you so much.
How about you, man? We want to get on? Say hello to the Conspiracy Horsemen.
Yeah.
How long you been out here? A couple hours. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. How long you been doing this?
I started about 10 years afterward, but I knew the day of that it was like a job.
Speak up just a little bit so they can hear you.
I was in a certain amount of shock for 10 years. It's very hard for me to deal with PTSD of this because I saw it happen.
Yeah.
I was there that day. World Trade Center.
Wow.
World Trade Center access beds.
Wow, you used to work in the Trade Center.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
God bless you. Were you there the day it happened? God bless you. I'm glad you got out alive.
I didn't actually.
Is that Muhammad Atta's card right there?
When I got there, I just needed to clean hit.
All right.
It was a hell of a day.
Beautiful. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate it. So yeah, look, people put these things out. There were a lot more. They had some color ones out here that were really cool, and they're not here anymore. But people are out here. Look, they're giving out flyers. And
how is hey
people-
Billy Ray? How is the as far as the awakening goes, and here we are, year 18, 19, approaching year 19. What do you feel it is now? Are people just burn out? Because we went through the shell shock and Napa, and then we went through some type of awakening, and now is the dust settling and it's just pushing forward, or do you feel that people at ground zero today with all that there was a different vibe? What's the feeling there?
Well, the vibe out here was very cool, man. Like, that Richard Gage was here on the 8th, and a lot of these people were there, listening to him. And he brought out a whole bunch of new information about Building 7 and some studies in a university in Alaska was running. So there's a lot of optimism. But more than that, the people out here, they're very receptive. Everybody's picking up a flyer. There were firefighters that came up to me earlier today and had a whole conversation with me, and that wouldn't happen before. They would just just shun me pretty much. But they had an entire conversation with me, and they were very receptive to the information and almost sympathetic. Like they kind of understood at this point. So people here are in the know. It's not, you don't find a lot of people that are resisting the information.
Well, I think the Jon Stewart, shoot promo in Congress there brought it home with those who are survivors, and I actually saw that number was set to surpass those who actually were killed on 9/11. The first responders with whatever related illness that they contracted, being in the rubble for so long, is going to surpass the number of the actual attack victims. And I didn't know if Jon Stewart might have been down there today or anything like that as a follow-up. They passed some legislation kind of right afterwards, but if that story's still in the mainstream, where are we? I think that's what really brought it to another level this year.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, man. There's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of a push. But the thing is, like, people are responsive to it now. It's very refreshing, man. I used to get all types of shit out here, all types of shit. I don't get that anymore. Sometimes you get some dirty looks, you're going to get an asshole here and there. But most of the time, that's not the case anymore. People want to sit down and they want to talk to you, and they want to know what's going on, especially people from overseas. And
too much has been presented, though.
Any one of them. What's up?
Too much has been presented for them to ignore completely and just blow off.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. So I mean, I wish we could have gotten this done like a little earlier. I know there was nothing any of us could do about it, but this place was fairly packed with people, and people were listening. And it was a nice sight. It was a nice sight to see. Everybody was super receptive. It's I've been out here since 2005. I come out here since 2005 every year, and I've seen crowds of 3,000 plus and crowds of 12. So it's been every extreme. And this year, while the people that came out to spread information, there was about 20 of us here, 25. But the reception that we got from people was amazing. And I was very happy about that.
Anybody calling for accountability? Like, really, just like, we got to take the Bushes down. It's red hot with this Muppet stepping down from the Trump administration. He says he quit. He said he was fired. I mean, that guy was a part of all this when it came to the surveillance state and all that afterwards, man. And whether it's swamp drain or them just staying small, like the Bush family, is there any call for the pitchforks and torches that really need to be lit?
Now, I mean, yeah, some people are here just losing their freaking minds. I wish I could find them so I could put them on air. But ultimately, like John Bolton, yeah, he got axed, right? But
yeah,
that doesn't matter. That's not gonna lead anywhere. It's just gonna be replaced by another fucking stooge, from the Heritage Foundation or something like that. I mean, that's all I can expect from it. But no, people aren't out here with pitchforks, if that's what you mean. It's baby steps. So it's been a long time, right? So to say baby steps is one thing, but I am optimistically looking at the situation like we're moving forward, just because I used to see people just resist it. Now they're not resisting it anymore.
Well, right. Here's the thing, Billy Ray, and thanks again for doing this. This is a pretty special opening to the show to have you right down there on today. But, dude, that's what, but following up on what Ben said is they know it's like the most disgusting, the most disturbing information you can get that this has been lied. You know, people have been lied to, and even at the Nancy Brown level, the first responders have not been supported. When Christine Todd Whitman was head of the EPA, she lied about the air quality as she had the mask over her face and everybody on her staff. So people literally got killed by the negligence and the ignorance or the downright just lack of empathy of these people on the surface. Let's not even talk about the towers or the planes or any of that stuff. The government lied to the people that were going to save other people. And like Ben said, more than the amount of people that died on 9/11 have died because the government basically failed them that way for their safety.
Maybe not even failed, as this was a lie hop event to open up the gateway for their plans to war, as we saw from the General Wesley.
I'm talking about the air quality. Just strictly the air quality thing is a sin in itself. That they didn't give a fuck about these firefighters, police officers, or even volunteers, civilians that went down there to the rubble to try to dig bodies out. And they're telling everybody they lied, and the initial report said it was dangerous. Remember this, guys? And they reworded it to make it more politically correct and more benign. Do you remember that paper, Billy? Billy Ray?
Yeah, I don't remember the paper per se, but I do remember Christy Todd Whitman saying that the air was safe to breathe and all that other stuff. And you know, people are still dying to this day. You know, to this day, people are still dying, coming down with cancer. So the death count, the death toll, if we're going to get technical about it, continued to rise since September 11th, 2001. That was just the biggest spike, 3,000 people, but they just continue to die year after year after year after year because of the lies about the air quality and so many different things. You know, call me whatever you want to call me, but you know, that I think that was deceptive, and they let people die. You know, that straight up and down, like they knew that the air was not safe to breathe, and they let people come down here anyway. And then they tried to cover it up. I can't co-sign anything like that. I think that was deceptive, immoral, and evil, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I had one more thing, and I'm going to pass it to Sal.
Look, this guy's about to go off.
Sal was like mad as hell, and I got mad as hell, and I'm sure Ben and you will, about these radio DJs that were just discussing.
Wait, hang on.
Yeah.
Is somebody with a megaphone?
Yeah.
Nah, he's just spazzing out right now. Hold on, I'm going to go get him.
Yeah. Let's get that idiot first.
I'm gonna get him right now.
World Trade Center 7 could not have collapsed due to fires alone. 8 stories of all columns would have had to disappear for this to happen. They tried to emulate what happened with the official narrative. Column 79, the building fell to the side. They eliminated all the core columns. The building fell to the side. The only way they could make 7 match what happened in the video was to remove all the columns from 8 stories. That's floors 6 through 13. That would make it coincide with David Chandler's.
Oops, they're cutting Billy Ray off.
Could be. Billy Ray, we lost audio there. That's great, though. I mean, you see where we are, you guys down there. You know, I don't know what else we can do as free media to keep it as on the street, you know, with Skype, and as spotty as it is. Hopefully he'll click back on here in it, and we can keep going. But yeah,
here he is. Here he goes.
Got you back,
hey man, thank you so much for putting the truth out there, dude. Anything you wants to promote? We lost you for a minute. You froze up. Give him one more plug there.
Great. Let me see if he has anything to plug. Hey, you got something to plug? Or you nuts? We know Richard Gage.
Is that crackhead Bob?
Sounded like Sal after that drink he had last week.
Facebook, Gina Rotonda, GENE-LARA.
He gave all that out there. There's a couple of other people out here, but this, like what that guy just did, is what goes on. I mean, for the majority of the afternoon, just people just spazzing out, and then there's a ton of people that come around and congregate and listen to the information. I wish there was more of it going on, but it's later, so.
Billy Ray, we're probably going to let you go here in a minute, but I want you to plug the Crow 777 thing. Are you all right, Sal? Did you want to get it in? Go ahead, man.
No. Go ahead, man. I'm good.
Because I was going to come back to you with the radio DJ.
No, I'm good.
I don't think we need on for that. But October 20th, you're putting together a great piece of work down there. Let people know what's going on with that, dude.
I am. Let me get these guys in here. They wanted to come on, so I'm going to get them on, and then I'm going to go to that. Hey, what's up, guys? It's the Conspiracy Horsemen. Make sure you speak up so they can hear you. But we're streaming live right now. These are two young men that are doing activism down here on your YouTube channel. Say what's up, Ed. Hey. System. Tell them where they can find you guys.
Yeah, it's youtube.com/apocalypse1, the number 1. You have to type it in directly because my channel's been shadow banned. They blacklisted all my videos from the search results. I was getting like 20 to 100 subs a day. Now it's down to like 1 if I'm lucky.
Incredible.
Yeah, I think you can have gay porn on YouTube.
There you go. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. Guys, want to say what's up to the Conspiracy Horsemen? You're good? All right.
Nice beard.
So check it out. Yeah, so that's the deal. Yo, so we're doing October 20th. October 20th, Crow 777. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, man, we hear you, dude.
Yeah, October 20th, Shoot the Moon NYC. And that's here right in New York City. Look it up, eventbrite.com. It's $30. Tickets are selling nicely. So by the beginning of October, let's see what's available, man. So if you want them, hop on them. And eventbrite.com, $30. Search Shoot the Moon. Guys, have a great show. And thank you for letting me on. I hope the audio wasn't awful.
No,
thank you, BRV.
Yeah, we got some great stuff there, dude. You can check him out on the Infinite Fringe. Great content, great guests every week. Our own Billy Ray Valentine. Thank you so much, brother. Be safe out there.
All right. God bless you guys. Later.
So with all the 5G, you'd think there'd be a decent connection in the city, in the middle of the city.
Well, they probably got us targeted. They probably put us back on 3G right there, as it's 3 strong right here for the next half hour till we bring on our next guest. But Sal, you definitely...
let's take it easy with that.
Yeah. Oh, he said yes. Sorry. Finally got he got me back. I thought it was a new show again. I thought we had no portrait mode this episode.
No camera. It'll just be audio. So I don't know if you want to grab a picture of him, whatever picture you might like that pops up first. I know that's your new favorite game.
I think I'm going to do the Keanu Reeves Matrix passport photo for Shane.
Okay. All right. But Sal, you on Breaking Sal, another awesome episode. You guys, episode 84, as 7 was lost. So let's go 6 to 84.
7 was at the college club trying to sexually assault a young girl. That's when we start talking about Ben Roethlisberger. But this is 84.
Right. For Antonio and all that. But you were red hot about these, morning radio DJs, just the representative.
That was just awful. Fucking awful.
I'll let you go. Break Sal for a while here, brother.
I was just mentioning it to Stevie yesterday because it started yesterday with some local. Actually, I think he's from Ohio or some shit, but now he's on the local radio down in PA.
Yeah.
And they start with all this bullshit automatically. Just start with the we're going to talk about 9/11. We're going to talk about 9/11. And you're like, okay. First of all, let me start the fuck off with. They play some little kid. My name is Lisa, and I was born at 2 p.m. on September 11th, 2011. And I want to tell everybody on this 9/11 day, 9/11 day, it's a fucking day now. So on this 9/11 day, everybody do something nice because you can do whatever you want to make positive in the world. So on this 9/11 day, she said it like 4 fucking times, and I want to smash her face into the concrete because on 9/11 day, like now it's a thing that we have to overcome. Go fuck yourself. How is it's a day? Are people still complaining? Well, I'm not gonna say complaining, but are people still going, Pearl Harbor, on this Pearl Harbor day, don't hate Asians. Don't do it. Just love Asians. No, man, it was a tragedy that happened. Some also say that it was a lie hop.
Same with Pearl Harbor.
What did I say?
No, you're right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I
Pearl
thought
Harbor.
9/11 and
No, Pearl
Well,
Harbor.
that could have been borderline MyHop, actually, with some of the actions and the pieces that were put in place.
Absolutely.
And it's like they're really just fucking really hitting home that you have to take today. Today you just need to walk around in a fucking funk, and then all the assholes at your work, every one at your work is like, hey, happy 9/11. And they're just, they're so depressed today. They can't talk about it. And, they can't fucking handle it. Oh, man. No, today's just a bad day. 9/11. It's just...
Yeah, well, it's coming. The day off, the long weekend's coming to make it a whole consumer experience as well, where they play into the empathy, where it is too much of the victim side. Tell me about these DJs, though, man. I know they were
fucking DJs. So I don't even want to put the fucking shithead's name over.
Yeah.
But he's basically doing Howard Stern's shtick from 15 years ago, where he's always talking about his diet he's on. I'm on a diet and all this other horse shit. But it's basically Howard Stern without the talent. And they start talking about 9/11. So of course 9/11 coming up. It's gonna be a big thing. We got somebody on the phone, and of course the person they get on the phone is to phone calls what that girl was to video. And they're like, so 9/11, I just want to tell you guys, there's no way that a building could come down on itself. And structurally, and so like they get the biggest idiot who calls in, and they play him, and then they fucking just rag on him. Which, obviously, this kid is some social retard who is just going to get buried by online, like by DJs. Who have they have a bit they can go to, and they just hammer him home what an idiot he is about what an awkward schmuck he is, and how he's in his mom's basement and he doesn't know how to work a phone. How are they going to listen to him about 9/11? So then they hang up on him, and then the next idiot calls up and goes, "I'd just like to point out this guy sounds a little bit more intelligent," and then he throws in at the end, and he says, "And if it wasn't for the Bushes." And then all of a sudden the DJ, "Oh, come on. Are you kidding me? What purpose could we possibly have to take down our own towers?"
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. I just want.
What's wrong?
Is that WTC in the World Trade Center 7 vid is in the chat right there. Wrestling Redneck just posted.
Yeah, I can't get it. I'll go to the browser. I'll bring it up. I'll get it.
All right. I'll say if not, I can send it in chat.
No,
sorry.
I can get it. I can go in. Send it in the chat because I don't see his chat from when I log in.
Yep, I got you.
But it's funny, Sal. This is the thing. These DJs and these people, and I actually was going to play a video back when Rogan would question World Trade Center 7 and the hell, dude. This guy Brian Cunning or whatever his name was, he got on there. Literally, like, if you really listen to what the guy said, Rogan's like, he's like, why would you say that it was a controlled demolition? He goes, no, I said it looked like a controlled demolition. He goes, why would you say that? Because it looked like a controlled demolition. And he goes, that's right. I'm not even saying that's what it was. It just looked that way.
That's how it looks, right?
Well, it wasn't, Joe. You need to stop saying these things. Because when you say things, it makes people think and you're trying to sway them to think that it's controlled demolition. We can't have that. Dude, he was using these words where it was literally like, you're a CIA guy trying to coach him. And he kept going back to it. He's like, I don't even know why you're talking. You can't talk about this stuff. You can't say these things. He was doing word crimes and thought crime and all this shit. And that's what these radio DJs who... fuck, man. If you say anything to I did an interview, and there was literally people. This is why I got off Twitter too, along with you, Sal. There was literally people. This time for real. There was literally people who were coming at me because I did an interview and they asked about the Conspiracy Horsemen, and I gave it in order. I said, all we do is ask questions, and we let you do your own research. We don't tell you what the conclusion is. I go, but. I mean, I said, what did I say? I said I was going JFK, 9/11, these other things, all this stuff just made me ask more questions over time. Well, I'm not buying this guy's fitness program, and I'm not doing it, and started throwing out tweets to other people trying to bury me in companies. and doing all that cancel culture bullshit, you know?
Of course, why not? Why the fuck not?
Like, do you know what this guy believes? You know, that's
how dare he has an opinion.
And 2018,
I got fired from Mahami Media Group, by the way.
And 2018, 2019 in the mainstream media, looks like the conspiracy theorists might be right again. Like these soft fucking serve, you know, after 6-7 years. And there was two really great points right there as Billy Ray was at Ground Zero with, especially the first guest, where aside from his message, he was looking for more community of people who are like-minded thinkers of what we obviously have here and have cultivated. And hopefully he actually finds that us and is able to find another outlet. It seemed like he was doing some marketing thing where something was kind of, you know, trying to make a profit off of 9/11 shocker in New York City. Like that's obviously going to happen year 18.
Well,
but I got some emails here and I just wanted to read one quick.
If
Sorry,
I could
Sal.
finish my thought real quick, just to.
Anyway, I'll shut up. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that it's just disturbing because we're going to show this Trade Center 7 video, which still today people don't even realize it even collapsed. But when you show this, I just don't, I say it all the time, I just don't understand how these blocks and blinders go up whenever you nail somebody, which we're not trying to nail somebody or gotcha. We're just saying, here it is. And it's always, I don't have time to listen to this. And this is fucking crazy. I'm not, you know that they just got slammed with it, to use the local news term for when wrestling comes to town. They get slammed. But I just don't understand why people are walking around down there listening to the information with Billy Ray and these people. And they're not turning around going, these motherfuckers lied to us. They fucking let people die so they could just, Afghan, they're in Afghan cave, so let's go attack Iraq. Let's go to this country. Let's go here. And you see what I'm saying? I'm jumping a little bit all over the place, but why don't they just stand there? It's like, hey, somebody killed somebody I loved. Yeah, I mean, we just got to wait for all the information to come out. I mean, we'll just, got to wait for more information. Yeah. Oh, they killed my aunt. Oh, they killed my dad. Oh, they killed my son. All right, well, I'm going to wait this out and let's see, because I don't want to look stupid. But they keep killing everybody that I care about. I don't know. It's not the greatest analogy, but I just can't understand.
And the payoff, and it's never we have them dead to rights on so many things, but nobody is willing to do the citizen's arrest to track down George Bush and Dick Cheney where they stand and say, we've got you here, and get the judge and get the warrant that really needs to be issued, even if it's for a media stunt. Go ahead, Sal.
No, my point was maybe just kind of go the Wolfgang route. And if anybody wants to come at you and say, okay, fine, well, terrorists, Islamic extremists took the planes, smashed the planes into the towers, collapsed the towers, hit them in such a way that they've fallen upon themselves. But then let's go back into, throw in the other one. Well, why would the government lie about the air quality? Why would the government, just not protect its own citizens again after just losing so many? Why would they not? And again, now this has nothing to do with conspiracy. It has nothing to do with terrorists. Now, why is your government failing you? And that's not important. People are dead. Sure, but what about the people who are living that you're killing? So now you ask them those questions, and now you're insane, and you get the that was the other thing that they brought up. The guy who called, the second guy who called, said the Twin Towers were not the first tower to be hit by a plane. First of all, he goes, the Sears Tower, to which the DJ jumped on it and went, it was the Empire State Building, genius. Yeah. So the Empire State Building was hit by a plane. That plane was much smaller. It was like a B-22, which is a much, much, much smaller plane. And there was no jet fuel in it. So it hitting that building so he was just such a smug cunt about it. Because I know facts too. I just Googled it. I had my fucking little lackey Google them up. So he Googled those. So now I'm smarter than you are, who called in with this. You said the Sears Tower. You're a dummy. And that's all he focused on. What a dummy this guy was. So they ragged on him for a while, and then, they cut him off again.
Yeah, that's because they won't take calls from Billy Ray Valentine,
right?
And be able to stand in the pocket with
and hijack their show for the next hour,
right?
Because they got to talk about the shizzy where fucking Miley Cyrus and Helmsworth broke up, so you got to talk about that instead.
Right? They don't even know the name Richard Gage. They think that's some new fucking heartthrob, Richard Gage.
The guy from 21 Jump Street, right? Booker.
Sorry, Stevie, go ahead.
No, I was just saying Richard Gage, but I'm sorry. Sometimes I lose my train of thought with this stuff because I'm trying to, I almost trip over my own thoughts and that's where conspiracy theories get in trouble too, because you don't just stay on point. Like I can't be like a Richard Gage or a Jesse Ventura. Even you guys are more on point. I get a little bit more emotional about this type of stuff because people did die. A lot of people died, and a lot of people died after the fact. A lot of people are still dying. A lot of Iraqis died. A lot of fucking women and children there. A lot of people are dying all over the place, and it's really just, it's unbelievably sad, and it's unbelievably fucking sickening. That's why I don't understand when people say people died. Did you know 3,000 people died? That's all the more reason to not delay an investigation by hundreds of days, to not give fucking $4 million and, well, here's 11. I know it's 1/10 of what we gave for the Monica Lewinsky blowjob, but reasons, I mean, fuck, dude. Give me a break.
I mean, people in the chat room want to talk to Pennsylvania, where there weren't all the bodies. Like, it doesn't match up there. We just showed the World Trade Center 7, coming in on its footprint in a 30-second clip that is undeniable to watch the explosions go off in the windows. It's a controlled demolition like every Vegas hotel that came down in the 80s to make way for the Strip. Now it's identical to that. We also had Trump this year passing the heat onto Israel and tying the connection to the Mossad being behind this or part of this. As maybe a misdirection spot. So we were in a really weird spot at the end of 2018 when that kind of started to evolve or devolve into that. And we've talked about the Mossad / art students that were staying in World Trade Center 2 and how there's a picture of supposedly and they were able to take a window out because for some art project. And then, great conspiracy theorists, researchers went and looked up from that photo the numbers on the boxes, and it went back to a demolition private company that was, of course, out of business, but that stock number was for a blasting cap. And all the upper part of the ceiling that was like a drop ceiling with paneling all had been removed as well. So you could see all into, all shit, man.
Ben, that sounds fake. I don't think that's real. And that's it. That's done. But that's all it took. That's all it takes. That sounds too crazy, huh?
No, I got the picture up. I got the picture up here of it's just a meme. It says quick IQ test. If you think a plane crashed here, you are stupid. This is the Shanksville, Pennsylvania deal.
Dude, doesn't that look like a just pit with dry ice in it right now?
Yeah.
It's
and that's all you need for a quick 2-second clip on the news to fucking convince 85% or Nancy Browns, because we can't go back to it. The scene is just too tragic right now. We shoot it from afar, and somehow this pic closer got out. And, even if it is that or what have you.
Yeah, but
And then we got to talk Pentagon footage and what was it? Frame 233, or am I just putting some numerology on that of the frame that's missing that should actually show the missile strike? Every other frame is right in there. It's been looked at by professionals and deconstructed, even sent out, and it comes back that it was tampered with. So all these big Scooby-Doo clues point right exactly to who it is, and we talk about the Clinton kill list and locking them up enough, but Bush and his little brother in the fetus jar formaldehyde is hanging out someplace, jacking off on a chainsaw with a ranch, getting away with it all still. And if you want to bounce heads on both sides, I'm more than willing to bury them all, because this all, like Stevie said, led to, as a lie hop or my hop event. If you don't know what that is, it means let it happen on purpose or made it happen on purpose for the greater good of these sacred cows that have wanted to take over the Middle East for lithium, oil, to spread democracy and franchising and whatever it is that they're going to, you know, take their corporatocracy to the greater, you know, world so they can expand into new markets. And does that come at the cost of 3,000 people and another 3,000 where they also own the insurance companies? They'll own all the insurance stuff that all the PTSD vets coming back from war, plus they own all the defense from Lockheed Martin. Bush is meeting with bin Laden families for breakfast on that morning. And now even 18, 19 years later with, what's his name, getting bounced yesterday, John, Defense Secretary. Sorry?
Bolton. John Bolton.
Bolton, thank you. John Bolton getting bounced. That was because they wanted to bring the Taliban to Camp David for some peace accord talks because we got our nuts tied around us because you didn't learn shit from Russia in the 80s trying to fund the Mujahideen to do this same shit with a big army when they just stretch it out, these tribal people. But don't think, look at our drug war now. We have a massive heroin problem. Where do you think all that heroin's coming from? You know?
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. You can go back and...
wait, that's meth. I'm sorry. My bad.
What was the drug movie? The dude was bringing it back from in the 70s from Vietnam.
Blow.
Air America?
Denzel,
Denzel,
Denzel Washington's in this one.
Gangster?
Yeah, and they're bringing it back the same in the
American Gangster, right?
American Gangster. Yeah. Like they're bringing it back in the coffins, right? That same shit. You think now that we have unmanned aerial vehicles that they can't do touchdowns and bring back keys of opiates, and that's not what they're doing, or bringing it in when we've had a 70-80% spike in opiates after they got everybody hooked on Oxy and shit for years during this as well. All these things I'm telling you are major industries and businesses, pharma, defense, recovery, hospital, and all planned. And it's 8 controlling masters that fucking do own all of that shit, man. And it's all tied in to this MK Ultra. You have to change the world's perception through some type of divisive shock therapy, some trauma-based experience. And whether it's making people in the 50s like they did with Ted Kaczynski, or now doing it on an entire population and world population to be able to capture their data, be in your phone calls, be on your fucking Alexa, and invade third world countries. That's not all by fucking happenstance. That's all part of a greater Agenda 21 plan.
I was showing that frame. I was showing a lot of Pentagon stuff. This is from one of the sites, one of the few sites you can find about missile damage to the Pentagon. Dude, it's fucking crazy. Like, you talk about, like, there's that thing where you zoom in. There's a documentary that's still up there on YouTube, 9/11 in Plain Sight, from this guy from the radio show called The Power Hour. And it's pretty amazing looking at that kind of stuff, especially when you compare it to other plane crashes in the mountains, or even the planes never just boom and that's it. And then they show, and I'm going to bring up the site again so everybody can see the Pentagon damage, and you can see a motor. Remember it was like a Pratt & Whitney or something. It wasn't it was from a jet, complete, like a missile deal. And then there's the hole in the wall that is not consistent with a plane. Then I'm going to go down to the damage. No, I skipped over. But it just looks like it's just kind of a 45-degree angle. There's a book that's not even like burned at all. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I keep missing it. Sorry, guys. Let me go. There's the missile thing, but there's the one I'm talking about right there.